webinar because it's really about buyer behavior from any type of traffic that you're getting to your website. Now, certainly there's going to be some others of you that are getting different types of traffic from many other sources. So you could be doing Google AdWords, a Capterra PPC campaign, maybe you're active on Twitter, maybe you're doing some content marketing and doing some blogging efforts and getting some traffic to your website that way. So the first piece of this is, okay, you're getting traffic to your website, and the next part and role of your website is really to be educating buyers on what you do and then motivating them to take action before they actually click away from your website. And part of that motivating step is also getting them to convert. And so when I say convert, I mean someone that has submitted their contact details to you to become a sales lead. So before we get into the how of doing this on your website, I want to talk a little bit further and change our mindset a little bit and get into a perspective of a buyer that's coming to your website and really discuss what buyers want from a website. So when they come to a website, they really want something that's easy to understand with simple navigation. And you'll notice on this slide I have an image of a heat map. And there's been, a lot of studies using heat map technology to understand how buyers are interacting with a website and how you can draw emphasis on certain parts of your website through design, which we're going to be talking about a little more further on into the webinar, but also just in general, how buyers interact in terms of how, simply how they read on the page, so left to right. Now, when someone gets to your website, they're going to quickly orient themselves. First off, they're going to ask, did I get to the right place? So they're searching for keywords that are addressing their needs, making sure that the format is pretty intuitive. And of course, before clicking away, there needs to be some sort of content on the page that's really going to motivate that buyer to take an action on the website and not just click away. So let's talk about how to do this on your website. And I put together this little anatomy of a landing page to go over these elements. Of course, this is simply for a discussion point. It doesn't mean that this exact design converts traffic at the highest rate. There are websites that are formed after this or similar to this and do very well, but basically what I want to point out is just the elements on this page. So the first piece in having a great lead-generating website is some great content. So first off, you need to have a headline that's your strong value proposition. So what is it that you do? How are you helping buyers? And then underneath that, you could possibly have further information as to your target market, really answering the W's. So why, what, if you work in specific countries, anything that'll be helpful to someone to engage with your website. The next piece of this is really bringing out some benefits-focused copy. And you'll notice here, again, I'm highlighting that this should be quality content. So even though I have this in bulleted format, and I'm also using differentiating between bold font and regular font to create different emphasis points, again, it's about having quality content as well. The next piece of helping to educate a buyer on what you do is about having relevant images that help tell the story on your software. You could even have a really great video overview for those types of buyers that could like to consume information via video. The second important piece of a lead-generating website is to have a compelling offer or call to action. And this is probably one of the first things that you saw when you got to this slide was this orange button, which is my primary offer. So I'm using color here strategically in order to create emphasis on my conversion path. And so this would be your free demo, your free trial. You'll notice I have a little play arrow on the button as well. To the right of that, I have another grayed out button that says offer CTA for call to action. So here I'm playing around with possibly having a primary and then a secondary offer. But again, I want my main focus on whatever is the most compelling offer that I have. Below that, I have a customer testimonial, which is really powerful content that you can have up on your website because it's going to help give your product credibility. And the features that you're already raving about on your website, if you can have your customers raving about it, that's great content to have near your offers to increase the click rates on your offer buttons. Below that, I just want to point out how I'm organizing more information on my solution. So these grayed out boxes really are for some business icons, again, using useful images that would help tell the story of the content and feature of my solution. And of course, I have some more learn more links that someone could click on where you could have additional information displayed. So now let's take that and apply it to an actual example. So first off, you have this great headline on MyVR. This is vacation rental software. So get more vacation rental inquiries with less work. So great value add there. Next to that is benefits-focused copy. You know, here's what you're going to receive. You're going to get your own website, your own Facebook page, promotional tools, local guides for renters, and much more. So they're making it really easy. I'm coming to this page. I know exactly what they're doing. I'm getting a little bit of a taste on what I'm going to get with this and not being fully inundated with information. So it's doing a great job at educating me and compelling me. And then next to that, to the left, you'll also notice they have a really great relevant image. I mean, this is a picture of an actual rental property, Tahoe Creek House. And then finally, of course, you're going to notice that prominent orange button. Here they offer a free trial. It says Start Free Trial Now. So creating some compelling content and using it as an action. And then next to that, you'll notice a little arrow where they have no credit card required. So letting someone know that it's really easy to get set up with this free trial and there's no obligation. And of course, further down on the page, similar to my anatomy of a landing page, they have some really great customer testimonials pulled out. Again, not too much information, but a great snapshot from a current customer. They have a great image, first name, and the actual rental property. So let's talk a little bit more on the do's and don'ts of your calls to action. So first off, your calls to action, they have to be compelling. So every website will typically have that contact us link somewhere for someone to click on and possibly get an address or other links to contact a company. But you'll notice to the right, I have contact us as the button X'd out. So contact us as your offer is not compelling enough. It's not going to convert your traffic at a high rate. And the reason is you really have to be speaking to what the buyer wants in this researching and purchasing process in software. So free demo and free trial works really well. Not everyone is going to be offering a free trial, and that's okay, but everyone offers a demonstration of their software prior to someone purchasing it. Even though you might have a consultative sales call prior to the actual demo, it's all about outlining that that is available in the process upfront to a buyer when they're getting to your website. Some other tips for your offers are to use buttons. So buttons are great because they trigger that it's something to be clicked on. People like to click on buttons. Of course, using some bright colors will draw emphasis on your offers. So you want to use colors very strategically here. Next, make sure that you're having clarity across your offer to your form copy. So let's say you have a free demo button on your website. Make sure that as people are clicking through on that free demo button, that it's going to a free demo lead capture form. It's not simply a general contact us form that can be found on your website. Next, make sure that you have consistency across your ad to your website copy. So if you're advertising a free trial and someone clicks through, make sure that that free trial offer is pretty prominent on that page. Make sure to differentiate between your primary offers versus your secondary offers, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that. And this kind of ties in with addressing the stage that the buyer's in. You'll see to the right, I have this little diagram. Of course, this isn't set in stone, but in general, these types of offers work well for these different types of buyers. So, for example, early stage buyers are really wanting to gather some information, more information, and maybe possibly even understand, what really are my needs here. They might not even know it yet. So having some offers like a free self-assessment or free white paper are some great offers to have for those early stage buyers. You might also test out having a free webinar or a free price quote for those that are very cost conscious. And finally, you'll notice that I have that free demo and free trial again. Both of those are starred. Free trial typically works really well for those that are ready to get into a system. And overall, across the board, free demo and free trial through all of our testing has converted traffic at the highest rates. So definitely something to consider to use as your primary offer, and maybe testing out one of these other types of offers as a secondary offer. And again, just making sure that these types of offers are compelling. So not having simply like a request more information or talk to sales. You're giving them something tangible with the type of copy that you have on here, whether it's a webinar or the actual free trial. And of course, with all of the calls to action, make sure that you're connecting it to a short form. And I am going to be talking more about the lead capture form in just a second. So here's an example to talk a little more on how a website is applying these call to action principles in a very good way. And of course, we can hark back to my anatomy of a landing page and also see that they're using a great core value add, turn your emails into revenue in the middle of the page where my eyes are drawn, and they have great blocked text throughout. So it's really easy to scan and to quickly learn more about this software. But where my eyes are really focused to is, of course, the offers. And so in the middle of the page, there's this bright green button, Request Pricing. To the right of that, you have Start Your Free Trial. So two different types of offers there. And then at the top right of the page, they're reinforcing their free trial. And this is great because you'll notice that if someone were to click through on different navigation points of this website, that free trial is going to be static on the page. So they've pulled out that conversion path so that no matter where someone's doing additional research on your software, someone will always, you'll always be able to capture someone when they're ready to convert. And then to the left, you'll notice a smaller button for a webinar sign up. Now, I will point out that on this page, there's 3 different types of offers. And what's important to take away from this is that they're not simply in list format. They are presented in different ways, in different colors, different size buttons. It's not simply 5 different colored buttons that are listed on the right of the page, like get brochure, sign up for our newsletter, get a demo. In that aspect, you're certainly going to overwhelm someone with creating all of those conversion paths. So it's about strategically pulling out some of these offers and maintaining focus on a few, and then presenting other types of offers to capture different types of buyers in other ways. And here's another great example. It looks very similar to my anatomy of a landing page, just the setup and how they have the checkpoints. This is HubSpot. What I really want to show you is just how they're differentiating the primary offer versus their secondary offer. So they have 2 buttons like I had on the anatomy of a landing page. They have a bright orange button. This is their primary offer, Request a Demo. Visually on this page, it has more emphasis on it than this grade video overview. And then I'd also point out on this page that to the right they have some really great icons, again, helping to teach this software to someone that's visiting and really just kind of quickly scanning to get an idea before they're going to do some further digging into each section. And you can click on these sections that will lead someone to a page that will go into more detail. So let's talk a little bit more on the form. This is a great example. First off, keep your forms short, so up to 4 to 6 fields. On this example to the left, you'll notice that they have 4 fields. This is a SaaS product, so they're asking for name, email, site address, and password. You know, not everyone has a web-based product, so your form might look a little different. You know, you might be capturing name, email, company, phone, and that's the most important contact details that you would need to start reaching out to that prospect. Some other tips on the form: make sure that the size of the fields are easy to fill out. So this is a pretty good size for ease of use. Remove any distractions on your form page. So you don't want to have a lot of content going over more on your solution. You've already got this person to click on an offer, and the next step is about maintaining that focus to be filling out that form. So make sure you're not having a bunch of other links on the page that's going to navigate someone away from that conversion. Another helpful tip that can help get some great conversions is just reinforcing your offer on your submit button. So on this example, a green button that says create my account versus a general submit. Align your forms for ease of fill out. This is just good usability. I have up here beware of the fold. And this is important simply because, you know, you don't want someone to click through and have to read through a bunch of content and scroll down to the bottom of the page to actually get to the form. Again, it's about maintaining that focus for someone to be filling out and submitting their contact details to hand over to your sales team. Also, be careful of CAPTCHAs that are out there. If you fall into the boat where you have to have a CAPTCHA because you're worried about the spam coming through, I definitely recommend looking into several different options, because there's certain CAPTCHAs out there that are pretty difficult for someone to fill out. And I've actually been on a form page where it took me 5 times to try to fill out a CAPTCHA, and I was by far more motivated to submit that form than a prospect would be. And finally, make sure that you're sending your prospects to a success or a completion page. And this is really about a good user experience. First off, you're going to help someone understand that their contact details did go through. And then also make sure that you're just outlining next steps in the process. So you're setting that expectation up for the prospect. So here's another example of a form, and I'm going to get into exactly what not to be doing on your lead capture forms. So to the left, you'll actually notice that this form, it only has 5 required fields, so that really falls into our up to 4 to 6 fields. However, in between those required, you'll also notice that there's a lot of other boxes and columns of other optional form fields that they're asking a prospect to fill out. And this is dangerous because it can be overwhelming to someone that's initially clicking through. And so optional fields still count. This can certainly be something like, wow, when someone is interested in an offer and they click through and they're seeing all these forms, it's going to create a little bit of anxiety and they might click away. And the idea is really to be getting them to convert and really opening up your lead funnel. Your website is really the first step in gathering as many leads as possible. And then you can have additional steps after that in order to help qualify your leads for your sales team. And it's all about having your marketing work really well with your sales team. So this is an example of a form where, you know, your sales team's winning with maybe getting a lot of information, because the more that they have in their arsenal, the more alignment that they can start to build for their presentation with this prospect. However, they're also losing out on a lot of these quality buyers who don't want to be filling out a long form. And for different types of buyers, there's different anxiety levels for different types of form fields. So name, email, you know, that's pretty easy. When you get to like phone number, there's a little more anxiety there. When you're getting into company address and all this other information, you're definitely creating a little more effort and asking a lot in that first step in the lead process. So definitely the pitfalls of combining these 2 steps is you're asking for their most important contact details, but you're also asking to qualify the lead. So really what you need to do is split it up into 2 different parts. And there's certainly ways to go about this. So for one example would be to test out a split form, and this is great. A lot of companies who have tested out a split form have found that they did not see a drop in overall quality leads that they got. So these are leads that were filling out the longer form who are still filling out both the initial form and a secondary form. So what this would look like is the first form would be capturing the most important contact details, and then there would be a next button that would go to another page where you're gathering some of that qualification data, so maybe number of users or industry or anything else that's going to be useful in the sales process. But the great thing about this is you're still capturing those that only want to be submitting that initial form, so you're increasing the number of quality leads that are going to be submitting that first form and getting more leads overall. And one way to test this out is, again, by tracking your conversion numbers and also about looking at your abandon rate on the page. The final thing that you could be testing out in order to qualify some of your leads is having a short form, and then after someone submits that form to you, send them a quick email with a very brief qualifying question. And definitely keep it brief, but this will help. Let's say you ask, what's the main challenge you're trying to solve, or how many users do you need the software for? Anything like that, very brief question. And what this is going to allow you to do is for those that respond back, typically those are going to be a little more sales ready, and then the other ones that you've collected that don't respond, definitely start nurturing them, because a lot of buyers need a lot of nurturing. And so to have those nurturing steps in place will allow you to grow your lead numbers. Now on this page, it's a receive a quote offer, and if there's any type of offer that would need a longer form and need this additional information to generate that quote, it would be receive a quote. And what I recommend for this type of offer is trying the split form, where they can collect that information and still generate the quote, and for those that aren't going to fill out all the information through that split form, they can still be working and nurturing. So the other aspect on the content is having some great testimonials, and this is going to help build buyer trust. It provides credibility to the features that you're talking about on your website. It also can help increase the click rates on your offer buttons when you're placing testimonials near the offer buttons. And here's some quick tips on testimonials. Keep them short, but make sure to add credibility, maybe use a picture, have the first and last name, position, company. Quotation marks are very important because that's going to clue someone in that this is a quote, so it's going to help visually pick that out. Finally, the other quick tip is you could be testing out getting testimonials and reviews from a third-party source. So, for example, you can have LinkedIn reviews show on your website, very similar to these types of testimonials, but it has that linked in as a third-party source to add credibility. So I've created this slide to go over ways on your website that you can be creating emphasis. And this is actually a really important slide because there's a lot of websites that get this wrong, because there's only certain aspects, the most important aspects on educating someone and getting them to convert that should be pulled out using some of these elements. And so what I recommend doing is just taking a look at this slide and then going back to your website and seeing how you're using some of these elements, and is it helping the conversion path or hurting it. So for example, the first one I have size. So this could be the size of your offer button. You don't want to have a really small button. You want to have a good size offer button. So again, it's creating some emphasis on the page and having someone convert by clicking on it. The shapes that you're using. Next I have movement. Now movement is either good or bad, right? So if you have a lot of pop-ups, that can be distracting, but you could have movement in your videos that could be very helpful to someone. Next, I have padding and negative space. Negative space is actually really important because it helps break up your content and make it much easier to consume as someone is scanning the page. So make sure you're using that pretty wisely. And then just thinking through contrast, opacity, color. Color is huge. Color can really help to draw out certain aspects of your website. And this is probably one of the top areas that websites are missing on, are not hitting the mark. And so, for example, for your offers, you know, you'd want to test out, let's say you have a blue general color scheme on your website. Definitely try a different color that's not part of that color scheme to draw emphasis on that. Or, you know, the other way to think about this is, are you using color too much where it's just overwhelming to someone and you're not helping to visually guide them on the page to what they should be looking at? The next one that I have on this slide is face. And faces always draw attention when people are looking on a website, especially if the person's looking out at you. This is a great example because this little boy is looking up at something else. And this is useful because you could have maybe someone looking at an offer, and that's actually going to draw attention away from the face towards something else that you want to create some emphasis on. And finally, I show a picture here of our character that we created, Captain Software. So certainly you could be thinking about characters that you can create on your website that's going to create that emotional connection with your prospects. Okay, so we've gone over the goal of this webinar is to generate more leads. We've talked about how to do that. Now we really have to get into the why. You know, okay, I'm getting a few more leads, I've made these changes. What really is the impact on my business from making these changes? And so this is actually the fun part because we get to walk through the actual monetary impact on your business. And so I've created this slide to go over a scenario before website changes and then after website changes. So I've created some of these numbers. They're based on, you know, maybe it could be numbers that a typical vendor could see. Of course, these are going to vary for other types of vendors. I mean, you could certainly take this math and be plugging in numbers that are very relevant to you, to what you're seeing, because you're going to know, you know, what is the amount of web visitors that you're getting a month, how much are you spending to get traffic, and you can walk through this math yourself, which will be much more useful, but definitely want to just take an example and go through this. So I've come up with, let's say this software vendor is spending $1,000 a month to generate traffic. So they're getting 5,000 web visitors a month. From that, they know how many leads they're getting. So we've calculated that they're getting a 2% conversion rate, and that's your click-to-web lead rate. Beyond that, the next step is to understand how many of your web leads are turning into opportunities. And this is your lead-to-opportunity rate. So they're seeing an actual pretty high lead-to-opportunity rate. And a lot of vendors actually skip this step, and I highly recommend doing this step. It's very important to understand how many overall web leads you're getting, and then how many qualified leads are you getting from that. And so in this example, I show 70%, which is 70 quality leads per month that this software vendor is getting. Now their close rate is 20%, which is average. So 14 new customers. But now let's take a look at after making website changes, after pulling out an offer on their website and having a great short form to capture lead contact details. So I've kept, you know, the same amount of spend a month on generating traffic, and then the same amount of total web visitors. But by making those website changes, I was able to increase the overall conversion rate from 2% to 6%, which is huge. And then from there, I'm going to know how many web leads I'm getting, and that's going to be an increase in overall leads. And then how many of those are converting into opportunities. And here, I'm actually being pretty conservative, and I'm showing a drop in your lead to opportunity rate of 40%. So we're comparing that 70% to 40%. And I'm doing this to show you, it probably won't drop that much, but this is to illustrate that, yes, as you're making website changes, you're going to be getting more quality leads and more bad leads. So this is probably going to drop a little, your lead to opportunity rate. However, the benefits outweigh the cost of lowering this lead to opportunity rate. Your overall change in leads a month, the quality leads that you're generating, went from 70 to 120 quality leads a month. Your close rate stayed consistent, so that's a total change of 10 customers. So before, you got 14 new customers with that scenario. Now you've made website changes and increased the amount of leads you're getting from your website. So now you're getting 24 new customers a month. And if we knew the actual price point of the product, we could be calculating how much revenue that this is worth a month. And we could even calculate lifetime revenue for one of these customers. And the main point to take home from this is the impact of making those changes, but this is also your opportunity cost in not making changes and not making changes now. So I highly recommend just, again, taking a look at some of these numbers on your own, what's related to your website, such as, what is the traffic you're getting? How many leads are you getting? How many quality leads are you getting? And just plug in some numbers here that if you were able to lift your conversion rate by, let's say, 3%, what is that gonna, how is that gonna impact my business, and how many more customers could I get from that? So this is very useful. So I've talked to some vendors about making website changes so that they can be getting some more quality leads from the traffic that's already getting to their website. And I do have a few vendors that I work with where they want to have a full website overhaul. Now, making website changes such as adding an offer in a short form should be pretty easy tweaks to make and really shouldn't take too long. However, for other vendors, this could be part of a complete new website design. And creating new websites can take a few months. And so I want to recommend this landing page tool as a quick fix in the meantime. So this is going to allow you to start generating leads now instead of waiting maybe 3 months down the road to get your new website up to be converting more traffic into leads. And they offer, this is Unbounce, so it's unbounce.com. They have some great landing page templates. They offer a free 30-day trial. And let's say your website takes 2 months to create. Well, in the meantime, you could be taking advantage of the free 30-day trial. You could probably put together a landing page in 30 minutes using this tool. It's pretty easy to use. I've actually signed up and played around with it myself. And you'd be able to see how many more leads you could be getting now to have your sales team work with. And then that, the impact of this, again, just look back on that math that I did. The opportunity cost in not doing something in the meantime and waiting those few months, you can just take a look at that math again to see the full opportunity cost there. So I'm going to wrap up this webinar and talk about the key takeaways. We talked about what are the 3 basic elements of a lead-generating landing page. So first is content. You have to have compelling content that's going to educate someone, and then, of course, you have to have great offers that's going to motivate someone to take action before they click away from your website. And then that offer should lead to a short form so that that person is converting and providing their contact details so that they're entering your lead system, and you can segment them and send those that are sales ready to the sales team and start to nurture those that need additional nurturing. So now I'm going to leave some time for questions. I've had some questions submitted as we went along, so I'm going to start to read some of those and go over exactly what you guys are facing right now with some of your website issues. So this is a great question. I have one, what if you don't have a testimonial yet? And I'm assuming that this could mean that you don't have any customers yet. So it's just about building a website that has a very strong conversion path and some great offers for different types of buyers. And as soon as you're able to get a customer, you know, a lot of customers will be very happy to submit testimonials and say that, you know, would love to have your feedback and helping future software buyers to present on the website. I have another question here that asks, can you share average conversion rates? This is a great question, and to be honest, this is going to depend on the industry that you're in. Conversion rates will differ a little bit depending on what industry you're in, and of course, your website. So there is a lot that you can be doing on your site that's going to help your conversions, and that's what I went over today. Now, average for all inbound marketing efforts, and that was, if you think back to that slide that I had with, you know, Google AdWords, Google Organic, all of those ways that people are generating traffic, the average across all of those conversion rates are 1 to 3%. Capterra averages are a little higher than that, about 4 to 6%. But if you're interested in more conversion rate metrics that are geared towards your industry, please feel free to get in contact with your marketing advisor, and we can definitely talk through that because it's going to be a case-by-case scenario. I have a question regarding my anatomy of a landing page. I had a dashed line there. This is a really great question. I'm sorry I didn't talk about this on the slide, but yes, that was referring to below the fold. So I had made that page easier to see more of a full page of the website if someone were to scroll down, but I created that dash line to really display what would appear above the fold to someone as they're first clicking through, because, you know, you only have a few seconds to engaging someone before they're clicking away. And those were some of the most important content and offer pieces, and then beyond that, I had more content to help a buyer through that. So I have some more questions on having a primary and secondary offers. So again, the primary offer that works the best across the board is the free trial and free demo. You have to think through on what's going to be most compelling to someone. If you could use free in the copy, that's going to be more enticing to someone. You could test out having an action like request demo or get free trial now. This is actually going to be an area that I'll be going over some more information actually in my final webinar of this series. So if you're interested in other copy that you can be testing to increase your conversions, please join that webinar. All right, I have quite a few other questions here. Let me see. Okay, someone was asking, what exactly do you mean by beware of the fold and CAPTCHAs? So when I'm talking about the fold on your website, I'm talking about when someone clicks over to the page, what is going to be showing on their screen versus what they're going to be scrolling down to. So the fold of the page is when someone clicks through, what's going to show up on their screen. And what I mean by that, it's really important, especially on your form page, not to have a lot of paragraphs at the top and have someone scroll all the way to the bottom to get to your lead capture form. You really want to maintain the focus of a buyer in filling out that form and submitting their contact details to you. If you have other content that will be helpful to the conversion, then that would be an area that you could have that additional content, but that would be, for example, using testimonials. It's not about having a lot of paragraphs on the page. And then, of course, CAPTCHAs. CAPTCHAs are elements that you can use on your form that's going to reduce the amount of spam that comes in. So there is a particular CAPTCHA out there that morphs both letters and numbers. and that one in particular causes a drastic decrease in conversions. And I'd have to actually send you to the example if you want to know exactly which one that is, so get in contact with me after the webinar. But there are some others where it's just, you know, you can type in these numbers, which are fine. I mean, CAPTCHAs in general, you have to be careful because they do impact your conversion rates, and I'm just making sure that if you have to have one, that you're picking the right one. So I have another question here. It's, what is the easiest way to fix a page with paragraph format? And so this is something, you know, I've really stressed on this webinar that you need to have bulleted format, so it's really easy to consume for someone to get a great idea on what you're doing, and not inundating someone with information. The page should not look like a novel. So for someone that has a lot of paragraphs on their website, what I recommend doing is just, you know, scanning through the paragraph and really picking out what are the benefits that you're talking about and create a headline for that. So this is kind of the backward step, and, you know, when in college writing, we would create the outline initially and then write your paper. Well, here your website really needs to be a very strong, compelling outline for someone to understand instead of reading through long text. All right, so if anyone else has further questions that you're interested in getting answers to, feel free and submit those to me after the webinar. I'm really happy to take some additional time with you. Of course, some of you have dedicated marketing advisors who you can always be reaching out to. That's Katie Flynn, Sarah Hollick, and Kara Dawson. But of course, you know, feel free to reach out to me. My contact details are on this screen. My email is jennifer@capterra.com. So again, if you want a website review, please send me an email or shoot your dedicated marketing advisor an email, and we'll get that set up for you. We will be hosting the 2 next webinars, so watch out for the invitations to come for those. The second webinar in this series, again, it's going to be focusing on tracking your marketing efforts to your business growth. So really, you need to have that link between your marketing spend and the revenue that's generated from it. So definitely looking forward to going over that and walking through it. So, you know, you'll be noticing those invites going out shortly. I appreciate everyone's time today, and we're going to be wrapping up this webinar. And again, if you have any additional questions, feel free and submit those to me or your advisor. All right, thanks again for coming.